Everyone, welcome to the graveyard shift. Hopefully this particular little presentation isn't going to bore everybody to death, wake you up a little bit of humor, I hope. I have a dry sense, so maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't. A lot of firsts for me here. The only thing that's not a first, it's not my first mum, but it is the first time I'm using one of these things, so I'm not quite sure how far it has to be away from my mouth. I'm not sure whether I'm supposed to turn my head or turn the microphone, so if you lose me every now and again, so be it. My name is Victor Kemp. I am here to give you a little bit of a presentation on a question I get a lot. How do you become a MikroTik trainer? What's involved? What can I expect? So I'm going to answer some of those questions, not all of them. Got to leave some mystery there for you. But as I said, my name is Victor. I've been in IT for about 14 years now. Before that, I used to teach, mostly English, so I'll try not to grammar Nazi anybody. I started at Vox in about 2006 and worked as a tech support engineer, did my best to advance myself and my self-knowledge, and eventually I got to the point where customers were driving me up the ruddy wall, and I came to the decision either I'm going to kill a customer, kill myself, or I need a new job. And at just about that time, someone came to me and said, how would you like to change your career path and become a trainer? And I said, yes, please. In 2016, Vox actually decided to shift away from Cisco's and Juniper devices on customer sites and move over to MikroTiks. And I decided that that would be a great opportunity to become an in-house trainer and certify the guys, thereby improving their CVs and mine. And up to that date, I have now got my MTCNA, MTCWE, MTCRE, and MTCINE. So, Vox itself is a limited leading telecoms operator providing voice, data, and collaboration services to the Southern African market. Voxtelecom prides itself on technical expertise, innovation, and the delivery of superior product quality. Guys, you can go online, you can Google Vox, you can find out all about them. What you probably won't be able to find is a little bit of the history. So Vox actually started as 4 other companies, a business-based ISP called DataPro, a telecoms company called Orion Telecoms, customer-based ISP called Atlantic, and a company that dealt mainly with fax called Amvia. They got together, they married, and Voxtelecoms was born. Since then, we've had a few people leading us, but now we've got probably the best guy. His name is Jacques Dutoy, and he is one awesome CEO. One of the main reasons why I say that is because I get to stand here now and speak to you. So, the question I keep getting asked is, I want to become a trainer. What is involved? So I'm going to give it to you from my perspective and a little bit of a broader thing. The first thing that I had to do for this was I had to make the decision, which I did, and then I had to get permission. And I thought, easy enough, I'm going to go to my manager. I'm going to ask him. He's going to put me on the course, and it'll go from there. Didn't quite work out that way. He said, you've got to go and speak to the CEO. And I said, wait, what? He says, yeah, no, you've got to go and pitch your idea to the CEO. And I went, never done anything like that before. You know, he's up there and I'm down here, and this is kind of intimidating. And, well, I had to put together a presentation, and then I had to go and figure out a whole bunch of things that I'd never heard of, you know, things that, how is it going to affect the cost of the company? How can we make money? I just wanted to train people. But anyway, I went and put all that together, and I pitched my idea, and, well, obviously I was successful, otherwise I wouldn't be standing here. Once I'd done all that, it was time to choose a Train the Trainer program to attend. And the closest one was in Milan, but I didn't have time to get a visa for that. Then there was the USA, way too expensive. Ecuador, even more expensive, which left Latvia. Never heard of Latvia. What is Latvia? So I went and did a bit of research, discovered that, well, guys, Norman's told you where Latvia is, right up in the north of Europe. Figured, well, it's winter over there, so it's going to be really, really cold. And then I realized, no, it's the northern hemisphere, so actually it's not winter. So it's not really going to be very, very cold. Did a little bit more research, found out that they've got an incredibly rich history all the way back to medieval ages, Russian Cold War, neighbors, they used to be a subject state. We shouldn't say that much. But they have everything from the medieval ages all the way up through to modern times, vast amounts of interesting things. And I thought, well, I don't often get to go to Europe, so let me take a bit of leave and do some sightseeing while we're at it. Got permission to do that too, which was great. So we got to Latvia, arrived, figured out the public transport system. Works, not like here. Wasn't expensive either. So I got on a bus, found myself at the hotel, which, strange enough, was called the Elephant. I'm not aware of any elephants in Latvia other than that. And I then decided, well, I've got to be prepared, so check in, go unpack my stuff, and then I've got to go find where the actual venue is. So got maps, went and took a walk, discovered that it was not very far, about 1.5 kilometers away. And first impression was, this building over here is, wow. I wasn't really expecting this glass monolith looking all amazing and professional. Big sign, MikroTik, easy to find, which is great. And right now I know where to go. So back to the hotel, bit to eat, get over the jet lag, have a nap. Next morning, off you go. You want to be there on time, so you know the course starts at 8 o'clock, so of course you get there at 6. Nobody there. You wait a while. You wait some more. People start arriving, and they look at you, who's this? What's he doing here? Oh, he's from the class. Okay. Let you in. And this was my introduction to, well, let's call them normal Latvian people, not the hotel staff that are trained to make sure that you're comfortable and happy. And I was very pleasantly surprised. They were incredibly hospitable. Come in. That's the class you'll be sitting in. Here's the kitchen. Here's the coffee. Now we're speaking my language. So we wait. We talk. A few more people arrive, and eventually the class is ready to start. You find out that you're in a nice, small, cozy classroom, and then you start introducing yourselves. And then I discovered the next big surprise. MikroTik is big. You do a bit of research, and it says, yeah, at that stage, about 160 people. But the first guy that introduces himself, you kind of expect it, he's from Latvia. The next guy that introduces himself, well, he's from Indonesia. That's quite a long way to come. And then we get someone from the Netherlands, and then someone from Ecuador, and as we go around the class, we get to the last guy, and he's from South Africa. That's where I met Trevor, who's another of the trainers here. And then Kaspers, who was our trainer, that lad over there, introduced himself, and we began the class. One of the first things he says to us is, how well do you guys handle pressure? We would like to find out. And you think, oh, bugger. This is going to be fun. It was. We learned an incredible amount, not only about MikroTiks, but also on how to train, how to present, how to speak to people. And we had a great deal of fun. I'm not going to give you all the details of what the pressure was that we were put under, because why should I do that? You get to go find it out yourself if you decide to follow this path. Suffice it to say, at the end of your course, you're going to be writing exams. And they're going to make sure you understand that if you don't pass your exams, you're not going to be a trainer. Now, when you guys go and do your MikroTik certifications, you go, well, what's this about? Okay, so I've got 25 questions. That's not too difficult. 60 minutes, that's okay. Pass mark is only 60%. Those other class, Cisco and Microsoft and such, we've got to get 75, we've got to get 80, 60% easy. And it's open book. Easy peasy. Trainers, you need 75%. Not so easy. Anyway, after the class, I decided that I would go and visit a little bit of Latvia. So I went to go and see a bit around Riga and a little town called Sesis, which I have since discovered is apparently Kaspar's hometown. So maybe there was a little manipulation there as to which particular town I was going to visit. Having a look in Riga itself, this is a couple of pictures of the old town. As you can see, they celebrate their medieval heritage, and Well, there seems to be a Dutch influence there because they have mobile bars. While you drink, you pedal, someone steers. You get to have a tour. Get drunk while you're doing it. The architecture is incredibly interesting. You have things from all different periods. You have these wooden houses. Well, I don't know what they were like inside, but they're certainly wooden on the outside. You have these old concrete block monoliths that look like they come straight out of the 1950s Cold War movies. And then you have these amazing churches. And they're just as amazing inside as they are outside. Yes, they have malls, they have lawyers' offices, they have everything else a normal first world country would have. And you're sort of going, this Latvia place is pretty amazing. They've got massive parks with open areas where you can go walk, have picnics, whatever you like. And then you get to go to places like Sessis, where you have your medieval heritage. None of this in South Africa. Get to go and walk around a castle. You can take a guided tour if you want to, but it's really not necessary. And all the people, all the tourists are happy to speak to you, to find out more about you and you about them. So you get to mix cultures in a grand way. As you can see, they have some pretty impressive manor houses. I'm not quite sure what that building was. It was either the town hall or a school. I think it was a town hall. Nearby, there was a place called Erglu Klintis, which is a bit of nature that is absolutely stunning. It means red cliffs. Actually, I think it's Red Eagle Cliffs. I'm not entirely sure. And you get there, you drive up through mountains and forest, you park in a parking lot, and then you get to walk through a forest to the top of the cliffs, where you then get to walk along the cliffs, looking at the scenery. And if you want to, you can climb down to the beaches where they have canoeing and things like that, and basically an amazing sightseeing trip. Anyway, we finished our tour in Latvia, got back to South Africa, and now it was time to put into practice what we'd learned. So one of the things that they don't tell you is you don't get any material. You're now a trainer. You're going to train a syllabus. And if any of you have ever done any teaching, you know that they actually give you all the textbooks and things, and that's what you get to work with. MikroTik gives you a guideline, and they say, build your own. So you go and spend a bit of time, you build your own course, and if you're anything like me, you're a little bit worried that your first course is going to be a horrible failure. So you cherry pick a few people, and they pass. And you think, damn, I did a good job. Now that they've passed, you know that your course works. Well, at least it did for them. Now you've got to get ready to go and put it into practice in the real world. So you now need to set up a training session. It's not as easy as it sounds. First, you need to go and plan your calendar. I'm pretty sure none of you is willing to go and join a course on Monday, right? Commitments, maybe. You've got to plan these things a little bit ahead of time. So you've got to go and build a calendar. You've got to take into account things like public holidays and enough time to set up all your logistics. So you go and work out in the third week of April. That seems like a good, oh no, wait, there's Easter. Right, May, that works. Right, so we can do something in May. How long is your course going to last? So you go and you look at everybody else, and they're all doing an MTCNA in 3 days, maybe 4 on some people. You've built this course, you've put a lot of information into it, and you're going, I can do that. But who's going to be my target audience? Now, for me, I was training, well, I still am training, internal staff at an IT company. Not all of them are as smart as all the others. So I kind of needed to adjust for the entry-level guys. I had a luxury. I made it 5 days. That way I could absolutely ensure that we had enough time to cover all the material as well as do enough practicals to learn something and to spend as much time as we needed on the practicals. I built a time budget, made sure everything worked, and then I was ready to advertise. So internally, that's easy. You send out an email. If you're going to do this for customers, advertising becomes a little bit more difficult. So having a website is certainly going to help you. That way you can put the information there that you want the students to know and to what they need to bring with them to the course. Once you've done your advertising, you now need to sort out your venue. Again, training internally, this is easy. I book a boardroom. Wait, I've also got guys in Cape Town and Durban that I've got to go to. Okay, so I phone someone in Cape Town and I get them to book a boardroom for me. Easy enough. If you are not training internally, that means you're going to have to source your own venue. So what constitutes a venue? What does MikroTik require you to have when you're training someone? An internet connection. That's easy. But there's one thing that you absolutely have to have for anything electronic, and that's also power. So I need a power outlet. First world country, easy enough. I'm calling South Africa a first world country. You may object, but where I live, it's usually first world. I don't take public transport. So I can sort out power. I can sort out an internet connection. Not a problem. I booked my boardroom. We had our training. Got to the exam day, and I discovered that MikroTik doesn't like it if you're not coming from a single IP address. So I got all these little flags coming up saying, cheating attempt detected, pause exam. I panicked. More about that later. Anyway, so you go and you work out your venue. Are you going to use a hotel conference room? Are you going to use someone's bed and breakfast? How many people do you actually need in your training before it is a viable training session? If your venue costs you nothing, then one person will work. If your venue is going to cost you 10,000 Rand, then you need a few more. So once you've worked out that, it's now time to make sure everything's going to work right. You need to get there early. Obviously, if you've been training for a while and using the same venue for a while, not such an issue. But the first time around, you do need to get there at least a day early to make sure that everything is in place. You are going to need to speak to whoever runs that venue to make sure you know who to speak to in case something goes wrong. And trust me, they do. So you've been going to the same venue for a couple of years. You know it works. They've got desks for you, tables for you, everything. You arrive, you start training, and the lights go out. Oops, Eskom. So there's load shedding happening. But in my city, load shedding was happening between 9 and 11 at night, not between 9 and 11 in the morning. PE is different. Okay, so these are the reasons why you need to get there early. You need to make sure that your venue is actually going to work the way you need it to work. Have you organized your tea and coffee? Is there lunch? Do you have lunch? Learned something last night on that line. So once you've set all that up, you've got to start thinking about the other things that could go wrong. Do the bathrooms work? I promise you, day 2 in a venue where the bathrooms don't work is unpleasant. All right, so you've done your prep. You've packed your bags, your boxes, your travel boxes. You've got all your equipment. It's there, it's plugged in, the power works. You've checked to make sure that you've got enough space. And remember, you've got students who are going to have to use a laptop, a router. Okay, so that could be anything from a small, this microphone's difficult. A small thing or a rather large laptop. The router you know because you're probably going to be providing it. So that's going to be fairly small. I recommend the HAP AC2 Lite. That's a pretty good all-round router. And then, of course, your students are going to have phones. They might want to charge things. They might have more than one phone, a tablet. So you need to make sure that there's enough space for the hardware, but also the software and the wetware. Coffee, sweets, if you want to give them sweets. Sweets are a good idea to keep up energy. Right, so your room's ready. Time to start the class. You get up early. You want to make sure you're there for your class. The class is going to start at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. Let's say 8 o'clock. So you make sure you get there by 7. You arrive, and there's 2 guys sitting in the class. I did say 8, right? No, can't be. Why are they here? I'm not ready yet. But they're there. You find out, oh no, they were also worried about getting there early, so they were there at 6. I'm not prepared to entertain people from 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm still getting up. Or if you're like some other trainers, taking a 10-mile run. So you chat to them, you get to know them, you realize they're just as nervous as you are. And then slowly, more people start to arrive, and you get ready to start the class. 8 o'clock comes round, time to start the class. There's 2 guys missing. I'm looking at one of them. You get an email, I'm going to be late. Doesn't say how late, but I'm going to be late. Now, as I said before, you had to build yourself a bit of a schedule to make sure you knew that from 8 until 9, you were going to deal with topic 1, introductions. From 9 until 10, you were going to do something else. Then you were going to have a break. Now, how long is this guy going to make you wait? You've built in some time for the unforeseen. Maybe 10 minutes for the day, 50 minutes. I don't know what you've built in yet. But you can accommodate him for 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. So you waffle. You start speaking to the class about things that are kind of irrelevant. You get them to share a little bit. And the time's ticking away, and you're sort of getting a little bit antsy because you've got this time that you said you were going to leave at 5 o'clock. And, well, now you're not really going to be leaving at 5 o'clock unless we do something about it. He walks in, okay, great, we can start. We're going to skip a little bit ahead. Day 2 comes along, and he's late again. But this time he's half an hour late. Day 3 comes, and he's an hour late. Guys, you cannot, as a trainer, wait for the people. If you set a time, it's up to your students to be on time. If the student's not on time, they're going to just have to catch up. Sorry for them. It's not fair on the other students to wait for one person and disrupt your entire training program. All right, so that was an earlier training program. As you can see, you improvise. Sometimes you don't have nice cabling, so you kind of create your own. What you don't know is that every single training session you give is going to be an international training session. There's always going to be a guy by the name of Murphy from Ireland who's going to sit in your training session. For those of you who don't know Murphy, he's got a law. Nothing is as easy as it looks. Everything takes longer than you expect. And if anything can go wrong, it will at the worst possible moment. So chances are you're going to have to deal with some kind of problem. Your equipment, power goes down. That's the current one right now. And the place where you're training doesn't have UPS. Or they do, but your boardroom's not on it. They haven't worked out solars and inverters yet, so when the current goes down, you go down, you're dead. Not so much a problem for you because your laptop's on battery, but if you've got 2 people, that's fine. Come stand behind me and I'll show you. You've got 20 people, you can't really do that. So power's an issue. Everybody boots up. A router doesn't work properly. It's going to take you time. Either the person who is booting it up doesn't really know what they're doing, or maybe it's faulty router. So take spares. Anything that you're taking to the training, make sure you've got spares along with you. If you are worried about the venue, speak to the venue manager, make sure they've got spares. If a light bulb goes out, it's daytime, not really much of an issue, but if it is really an issue, make sure they've got a spare light bulb. Make sure you know where to go and get it. Your training has started. And now we have the not so bright versus the bright. Luckily, lightsabers don't really exist yet unless it's that lighter that looks like a lightsaber. And it's unlikely that they're going to go and put their eye out. But this is where you've got to look at who's your target audience going to be. For most trainers, it's going to be a customer who's paid a goodly sum of money to come and learn something that they're ready to learn. You're not likely to have too many of the not-so-brights. The really, really bright ones can be a little bit intimidating at first, but you'll very quickly find out that they're actually a huge asset to your training. The not so bright ones, those are a different challenge entirely. So let me start with the bright. Let's start with the positive, always. You know you're pretty much a subject matter expert in what you're about to train. But you also know that IT is an absolutely huge field, and unless you've been doing it for the last 40 years, you probably don't know everything. But there's always some genius out there who pretty much does. So you're walking into your first training session and you're going, please let there be nobody that knows more than me. Please let there be no awkward questions. I can handle the normal questions, but those ones that I don't know about, yeah, it's a bit scary. You're training, you start explaining how things work, and you say, and this is how you do it on a MikroTik. And the hand goes up. And you say, okay, or what's he going to say? Yes. How can I help you? Did you know that you can do that another way? No. Always be honest. All right, I don't know how to do that another way. I just know this way. And then suddenly it clicks. That smart guy, he's a resource. You're a trainer because you like to impart knowledge. In order to impart knowledge, you had to gain it in the first place. So you must have a love of knowledge. Here's a guy who's just paid you to come to learn something, and he's going to teach you something new. Bringing awesome. So you say, please, would you come and demonstrate? It takes a little bit out of your time budget, but he comes and shows you something, and suddenly your class has value added. You have value added. You've just learned something new. Amazing. That smart guy is the best thing that ever happened to you. Also, he helps get rid of a bit of the fear. I've been lucky enough to have a lot of them in my classes. And for all of those of you that have been in my classes that are here or watching on YouTube, thank you very much. The not so bright. At Vox, we have a lot of people who want to learn. We have a lot of other people who want to have a bit of a holiday from the job. So they sign up for the course. You don't know this by looking at them. One thing you will learn, just because they're going, doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. And just because they're staring at you, doesn't mean they're stupid. So over time, you start to find out, this guy doesn't really know what's going on. Now you've got to think clever. Turn him into an asset as well. Sorry, it could be a her, but we don't get too many girls doing MikroTik. Please, if you do want to, come along. How do we turn him into an asset? It's quite simple, really. He's going to have issues, so use them as a learning experience. It's live troubleshooting. I'll give you an example. I'll give you one example. Last year, I got to train a bunch of sales guys. Right, I already knew this was going to be a challenge. They're sales, not technical. They walk in. We do the introductions. Everything's good. I hand out the MikroTiks. I demonstrate. This is how you reset a MikroTik with 2 hands. They got it. No problem. Have you all downloaded Winbox? We have. Please factory reset your MikroTiks and tell me when you pick them up in Winbox. Right. By the way, do you all know how to connect an Ethernet cable from the MikroTik to your laptop? Yes, we do. Okay, good. So the factory reset happens. Everybody looks good, and then the hand comes up. I think my MikroTik's broken. Okay. Could be. Been using them for 3 years. Has seen a lot of use. Come and get another one. Got the spare. Comes and gets the spare. Same thing happens. Starting to get a bit dubious here. So we go to the desk, we hand him a 3rd spare, we take his MikroTik, and we go and we plug it in. It pops up. He puts up his hand. He says, it's not working. Right, I know it's not me anymore. My equipment's good. Walk over, step behind, True as Bob. No MAC address in Winbox. Check the cabling, it's there. Look at the MikroTik. Oh, he's not plugged in the power. First thought, oh bugger. Second thought, learning experience. Hi guys, we've got a problem here. Let's do some live troubleshooting. Would you please come and see if you can figure out why this is not working? Yeah, let's check this out. Yeah, I know we can see this, we can see this. A couple of minutes later, there's no power. Okay, great. Experience learned. From this, we get to know. First law of troubleshooting, check the power. So, whichever way you look at it, whether it's bright, whether it's not so bright, you need to have the mindset to be able to turn that into something positive. It's a learning experience. No matter how trying your patience it might be, you need to find a way to make it work for you. If you let the negatives get you the whole time, I guarantee you will be looking for a new job in a new field sometime pretty damn soon. All right? You've got to find a way to make it work for you. So sometimes things go wrong. You know that things are going to go wrong. You have built your timeline for the course. Guys, no matter how much time you budgeted in for something to go wrong, in some instances, it's not going to be enough. How do you build a timeline? All right, so do everything yourself. You're an expert. I can do it faster than most people. Right. If it takes me 5 minutes to do it, I'm going to give him 10. No, 10 is not going to be enough. Let's double that. I'll allow 20. This is if you have the luxury to run a course over 5 days. If you're going to do this over 3 days, they better know what they're doing. You don't have time for a budget. You're going to move through everything really rapidly. But sometimes your time budget is going to not be enough. What can you do about that? All right, so I scheduled half an hour for the break 1. I scheduled an hour for lunch. I scheduled half an hour for break number 2. They smoke. Tough. Let's cut the break number 1 down to 10 minutes. We'll cut lunch down to half an hour, and we'll cut break down number 2 to 10 minutes, and we'll train until 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Still not enough. Guys, this is another place where MikroTik is awesome. Your requirements when you're training a course is that your student has to be in the class and they have to be with you when they write the exam. There is nothing that says you have a minimum or maximum amount of time to spend. If you want to design your course to run over a month on weekends, you can do that. If you need to make time for your students to be able to write the exam at a later time, you can do that too. Obviously, that's going to be a lot easier if you're all from the same city. If you're going to have to fly down sometime else, a little bit more challenging. But again, they've attended the course with you, but there was no time for the exam, so let them come to another course and write the exam on the exam day rather than attend the whole course again. There's always more than one way to get something done. You've gone through your course. 1 day, 2 days, 4 days, 5 days, however long it's taken. You reckon you've given them all the information they need. Now it's time to find out, were you good enough? Are they going to pass? So it's exam time. Your students are nervous. You're nervous. Guys, now you take a step back and you make sure you've done some prep before the exam to make sure the exam's going to go smoothly. Is your internet working correctly? Have you made sure that you understand the firewall rules so that you can actually get to the MikroTik site? Has everybody registered an account? It's kind of distracting when you're saying, right, start your exam, and the guy's going, where? On your MikroTik account. What's that? So get everything ready that you know is going to happen in the exam. You've done this before. You've done at least 2 exams. Your requirements in order to become a MikroTik trainer is an MTCNA at 75% and at least one other advanced course at 75%. So you've done 2 exams then. and you've done some more, trust me, when you did the Train the Trainer. So you know the drill. When you were in Train the Trainer, MikroTik told you about all the things that were the no-nos. Cheating. There can be no cheating. So what is cheating? Everything that is not phone a friend or ask the audience is okay. Anything that you can bring to the exam is fine. So you give the talk. You explain to them, no cheating. This is what cheating is. And then I had to learn through bitter experience that the guys like to have WhatsApp groups. And then they chat. So you take away their phones. You take away the tablets. Well, you don't have to take them away, but you make sure that they put them away so that there's nothing that they can use to communicate outside with. You then give them some advice. Right, this exam, it's not as easy as you think, but it's also not as hard as you think. There are thousands of people who've done it before you. There are thousands more that are going to do it after you. They're all going to pass. A few are going to fail, but if you've walked in with the right foundational knowledge and you've paid attention in the course and you know how to do a bit of Google research, this is not a hard exam to pass, certainly not the MTCNA. But. And so you'd spend a little bit of time, you quiet down their nerves, give them a little bit of exam prep. All right? Pop quiz them. Let them pop quiz each other. Have some sort of an activity that allows them to get their minds off the fact that the next few minutes are going to decide whether they've just wasted the last few days or whether they're actually now going to get a smile on their face. So you've done your exam prep, your students are ready to start, you start the exam. You watch. And some of those students are going mile a minute. Now, one of the things that as a trainer you do have access to is you can see their progress. You cannot see their questions and you cannot see their answers, but you can see their progress. And you watch this guy, and it's 5 minutes in. Holy crap, he's finished 70% of the test. And there's another guy there, and it's 20 minutes in, and he hasn't started yet. And you're sitting there going, this is not so much fun. He's going to pass, and he's not. It's no guideline. The guy that spent 20 minutes has been reading every single question very carefully and researching the things getting ready. 10 minutes before the end of the exam, he goes, it's finished. The guy that's been going a mile a minute has been guessing every single answer, and at the end of the exam, he fails horribly. There's no way that seeing the progress is going to give you an indicator as to whether that person's going to pass or fail. That you get from observing your students throughout the course. Comes to the end, it's over. There's one guy that just forgot to save his progress. He's timed out, and he starts to panic. Don't worry about it. It's all still saved on the cloud, well, on the MikroTik servers, and you're going to get those results anyway. The guy that finished in 20 minutes passed. He jumps up and down, fist pumping. Yes! I made it! And he looks around, and everyone's still writing, and he's sort of, I made it! And you say, shh, trying to concentrate. The next guy finished at 27 minutes. He failed. He runs and headbutts the wall. Shh. They're still writing. Guys, give them some guidelines beforehand. Let them know what behavior is acceptable. Please quietly leave and then scream in happiness or frustration. You may have a few rewrites. They come in, they rewrite, they pass. Got to always look at the positive, guys. They always pass. But they don't. Sometimes you're going to have people who fail. It happens. You can't let that be the end of your career as a teacher. It's not on you to make sure that whether they're going to pass or fail. It's on you to make sure that they have the knowledge that they can pass if they're good enough to do so. You also have to understand that some people are terrible exam candidates. Let them know that you are available to assist them with interpreting the questions. You're never going to give them an answer. Right? That's cheating. That's ask the audience. It's a very special audience, but that's you. If necessary, you can schedule exams at different times. So you could have the class right, and you can take one person and you can assign the exam to him after the class so that you can give him breathe, relax, read the question. Do you understand the question? Answer the question. And at the end of it, he passes. You may or may not get a hug. At the end of it, you're going to get a whole bunch of happy people. You're going to be ecstatic. That was me going, woohoo! And you've just added to MikroTik's community. There are now some more people certified who know what they're doing with MikroTiks. Not always. Then you tell them, guys, there's a MikroTik forum, several. Go and read the forums. Keep up to date. Join the forums. You give them all kinds of advice. You give them all kinds of encouragement. And you say, there's another course coming. Please come along. Guys, in conclusion, to be a successful trainer, you need to enjoy the work and you need to have the right attitude. It's not about having an incredible talent for teaching. It's not about being an amazing public speaker. It's about knowing that this is what you want to do. It's about knowing that when that light goes off behind someone's eyes and they go, got it, that's the reward. Obviously, there's a monetary thing that happens on the other side that helps you to live, but that's not what makes you feel warm and fuzzy as a trainer. It's seeing the light go on in the eyes. Well, okay, I speak for myself. Other trainers may disagree with me. The skills you can learn. The attitude is something you have to have. So your course is full of challenges, from the setting it up, through to the running of it, through to the conclusion of it. Every time you meet a challenge, you need to improvise. You need to adapt. And through that process, you will grow as a trainer. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Yes. By all means. And then again, we improvise. Come back to another training session, please. I've not had that one. Right. Note to self, bring a switch. Anybody else? Guys, if you have any questions on the particulars on how to become a trainer and what's involved, please get in touch with me. Feel free to let me know. My contact details are on the MikroTik website, or come and speak to me between now and time to go after the raffle. I'm sticking around for that this time. Otherwise, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody.